What's up, everyone? This is Bacon, and today we are doing a Wilder tier list video, except I added some signature item information on here, which I think will be really helpful for those of you who are trying to build out different heroes within this faction, but don't really know exactly where to kind of focus your efforts and, put in the X amount of resources into signature items and what to build them to and so forth. One thing to note, I also am not including the ascension level for these because honestly, my overall opinion is if you're all these heroes, if you're going to use them, you're going to get them ascended. And if you're going to get them to ascension 3, might as well just get them to 5 at that point. You get a little extra stab bonuses and they tend to just work a little better, even if it's not like the ideal range. For example, a hero like Devontae, you could just get to probably A3, but might as well just leave her on your wish list until she gets to A5. I don't think that's really that crazy. It's not that hard to get heroes and get copies of them, unlike Classic, because you get so many scrolls every day. So I don't think that's really worth kind of focusing on too much, but rather I think the signature items are really the big pain point that people are confused on. So let's go ahead and look at the S tier. You have Trisha, best hero probably in the game. She's just cranks out some damage. She's really strong just throughout the game. You can put her in basically any type of game mode in the game and she's going to be super valuable. You really only need to get her signature item to 20 to get that really strong DPS damage going. You could get it to 30. I think she's one of the few heroes you could argue that like it doesn't hurt to get to 30 because it's just going to make her do more. But 20 is the sweet spot where you're really going to get the best bang for your buck. Next, we have Awakened Solace, who is probably right up there with Trisha with being the strongest hero in the game. You do want her signature item maxed out. You want to get as much in that as possible. So if you are kind of not to the point where you have an Awakened Solace yet, I would start saving up the resources so you can immediately level her signature item up to 30 to get that big value from her. Once you unlock her, you're already going to get a really big value, but that'll just ensure that you're doing as much as you can with her. Leica, signature item 20. She's a good kind of support hero. She does do some damage too, but as you get her signature item up, she's just going to kind of buff your team even more. If you were to get her to the 30, it basically just makes her buffing better, but 20 is perfectly fine. You do not need to go to 30. Same with Mishka. 20 is the sweet spot for a lot of these heroes, but Mishka is 20. You want to get her to 20. She's probably one of the best tanks in the game, if not the best. She can do a lot of damage. She has a really good CC. She is just like right on the back line. She just jumps on the other team. And the fact that she's a Wilder just makes her even stronger because you compare her with these heroes that just make her even better. But 20 is really all you need for her. Devontae is a hero where you could probably argue that we're going to the A tier, by the way, if you can't look at the thing and see that it's A tier. But Devontae is the only A tier I have on here, and she is someone who you could use her at 10. I would say, as far as priority goes, start with your S heroes, and then Devontae's probably, honestly, the last Wilder that I personally would invest in at this point in the game. I think after her, B, C, and D tiers just aren't worth it. Unless you are just rolling in the resources, I think Devontae's probably the last. And you could honestly get away with just building her up to signature item 10, but 20 is probably the sweet spot where you get the most value from her. Now looking at the B tier, Tassie, her big thing is putting to sleep the enemy team, and you don't need to build out her signature item to do that. Her signature item basically is a debuff, and you really just don't need that. So I wouldn't invest in her signature item at all, but Tassie is a fun hero that can be put in campaign and different kind of pushing things. She's really bad at like guild boss and stuff like that. Like her bread and butter is like putting people to sleep, and so if there's a lot of heroes on the team, that's where she thrives. Raku is a hero that is still kind of being tested out. I personally don't have him built out very much. Maybe like I have 2 copies of him. I just haven't pulled very many of him. But I have this A4 with the asterisk here to mention that he has this weird thing where if you upgrade him to Ascended 5, he loses some of his basically output of damage for campaign and stuff like that. So it's actually worth getting him to just A4 in most scenarios and leaving him there. And I would remove him from your wish list immediately so you don't accidentally get more copies than accidentally get him to A5. He's a weird hero. He also needs that signature item 30. I personally would just stay away from him from now. He's a fun hero. He's, cool design, but I just don't think like 30 is such a high one. The only one is really Awakened Solace that's worth it. And because he falls in the kind of that B tier area, I would wait. He could end up being really good and fall in the S and A tier, but there's just not a lot of testing that's been done on him yet. And so I think I would just hold off on him. And if he does end up being in like A or S tier, my opinion might change of him, but I would just kind of let him be on standby for now. There's plenty of other really good Wilder heroes that you can use. Next we have Oku. Just signature item 0 is perfectly fine. There's a few different areas in the game where you can kind of put him in there, and he's kind of like your beefy tinky boy, and that's what he acts as. But not a ton of value throughout the entire game as a whole. A lot of these heroes that are in S and A tier really just have universal value in most parts of the game, whereas heroes that are kind of the C and D and partially B just have certain areas they're good at, or just they're very below average across the board. So going to our DNFs, 0 for all of them. I'm not going to go into these. This guy, though, I forgot his name. Floating Nature Guy. He has been found to have some value in very, very few parts of the game. Maybe PvP, if I remember correctly, in a few different comps, but very, very unnecessary to build out. But if for some reason you are like, I want to build this dude out, S20 is probably where you want to go with him. But like I said, I just don't think he's really worth it. Maybe 1 or 2 honorable mentions. Raccoon and Sheepman. There's a few very minor areas of the game that you can find value with them in. And when I say minor, I mean like you'll use them once or twice and then you'll probably never use them again. So if you have all these heroes from S to C built out and you're like, I need to keep building out heroes so I can buff my Awakened Solace, and you have the choice, I would probably pick Squirrel Man and Floating Guy here as my 2 next ones. And then at that point, hopefully you're fine and you just kind of have what you need. But D and F tier heroes are pretty much there just to max out so your Awakened Solace can get stronger. I would not recommend investing in them at all. As you can see, lots of blanks, lots of zeros besides him. And that's kind of it. And it's funny seeing all the heroes on the Wilder tier list because it makes it seem really small, but it's just one faction. So I'm going to continue making these for the other factions as well, because I think having these signature item information with the tier list is really helpful. It's a really helpful visual for those who are trying to understand like how to build heroes out, who to focus. And so, like I said before, I would say these top 5 are who you want to put on your wish list. These are the ones that you want to build their signature items out on. In the Wilder faction, I would basically not build anything B and below at this point because there's a lot of other factions and a lot of other heroes that you can build out besides these ones. So these are the 5 that I would really focus on with heavy prioritization with the S tiers. But that is all today, guys. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe below. If you have any recommendations or other videos you want to see, leave them in the comments. If you have questions, I don't get around to all of them, but once in a while I'll kind of scroll through and answer a few questions. But thank you guys for watching, and as always, have a great rest of your day. Peace.